At this point in One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy can proudly be considered as one of the strongest characters in the entire story. He is capable of fighting emperors, dragons, gods, and even demons. And he does all of this with a smile on his face. We followed Luffy over the course of over 1100 chapters, 25 real world years, and roughly 15 years of Luffy's entire life. All of this means that we have a pretty good idea of just how strong Luffy was at every single point and milestone within One Piece. Luffy is considered to be a prodigy. His meteoric rise to the top was near unprecedented. He had gone from a rookie in what was considered to be the weakest sea to standing equally as one of the Yonko in the span of just over 2 years. While all of these are incredible feats, it has got me thinking, if Luffy is considered to be a prodigy who is standing alongside the Yonkos at only the young age of 19, what does this say about characters who are even stronger than Luffy was at their age? After going through and analyzing hundreds of different characters, I have found 14 who we can confidently say are stronger than Luffy when he was at their age. And one of these characters I genuinely believe will eventually reach the heights that Luffy now finds himself at. But before we delve into these characters, it's important that we first understand just how strong Luffy was during the different portions of his life. Luffy's growth as a pirate can essentially be broken down into 4 different stages, and each of these 4 stages are separated by a distinctive turning point. First, we have rookie Luffy, who was fresh off of Dawn Island with all of the training that he had amassed from his childhood. Then we have Enies Lobby Luffy, who has jumped up a level with him now acquiring Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. After that, we have post timeskip Luffy, who is now equipped with Haki, and lastly we have a modern day Gear 5 equipped Luffy, who is capable of transforming dragons into jump ropes and fighting against the very strongest that the world has to offer. The closer that we get to present day Luffy, the faster that Luffy's growth has become, which makes anyone capable of matching up with him even more impressive. Now, to compare Luffy to characters who may have more potential than him is going to be worthless if we consider characters who will stagnate and stop moving forward. Fortunately for Luffy, there are some characters who've made it onto this list who may just have one growth spurt of potential and it may just end there. So we'll definitely be analyzing and breaking down the characters who fall under this category. So these are characters who at one point in their life may have been even stronger than Luffy at the same age, but they have failed to maintain the incredible level of growth that Luffy has managed. So we'll start by looking at 2 examples of this, and they just so happen to be the 2 emperors who have fallen from their rank, Big Mom and Kaido. Let's begin with Kaido. Throughout his entire life, Kaido has been considered a monster thanks to his incredible strength. By 10 years old, he was the strongest fighter in his entire kingdom, and by 13 he had become such a threat that even his kingdom's king had grown to fear him. And it's for this reason that he was sold off to the Marines. After easily escaping from the battleship carrying him, Kaido had traveled to the New World seas with a newly granted 70 million berry bounty. At the age of 15, Kaido was invited by Whitebeard to join the strongest crew in the world at the time, which were the Rocks Pirates. Kaido had happily agreed to this offer. While only an apprentice, Kaido was quickly accepted within the crew of monsters made up of only the strongest and most ruthless pirates on the seas. His strength would only grow in the following years, especially once he was granted the Uo Uo no Mi model Seiryu by Big Mom at God Valley. At the time of Goldie Roger's execution, Kaido was well and truly considered to be one of the very strongest in the entire world. This is why he was immediately considered as one of the new emperors of the sea. Kaido's innate strength had made him a monster even in his childhood, something that Luffy wasn't able to match until his later teenage years. Now moving on, even within the One Piece world, Big Mom could be considered a freak of nature. Her strength at 5 years old was enough to make her a threat even to experienced New World pirates. This fact held true throughout her entire career as a pirate, with her being an integral part of the strongest pirate crew in the world, the Rocks Pirates. This was before she had created her own crew, which an entire nation was eventually spawned from. For 3 generations, Big Mom was one of the strongest fighters on the seas, and once again, it was only with the climax of the Wano arc and the emergence of Gear 5th that Luffy could claim to stand on equal footing with the likes of her. Big Mom's utterly insane strength, even as a child, would have posed a threat to even post-timeskip Luffy. While the heights that Big Mom went on to reach were equally impressive, she certainly seemed to reach a plateau not long into her adulthood. Unlike with both Luffy and Kaido, her Devil Fruit cannot be said to be the most adept for combat, and while she certainly did manage to utilize it to boost her strength, I cannot help but to feel that if she wielded a better Devil Fruit, then it would have have made Big Mom even more fearsome than she originally was. Staying with the theme of the previous generation, we turn our attention to the man who had sailed with both the strongest man in the world and the Pirate King before his unfortunate demise. This of course is Kozuki Oden. At the age of 1, Oden was capable of throwing grown adults to the ground. At the age of 4, he killed a bear by throwing a boulder at it. At the age of 8, he had fought gamblers, and by age 9, he was blacklisted by Wano's Yakuza. Oden's reputation and strength was well known from a very young age, and despite growing up isolated from the outside world, he still managed to mature into someone who could fight evenly with the likes of Whitebeard. We can't be certain as to what Oden was like during his teenage years, but based off of his childhood, it suggests that he was a monster that was far more fierce than Luffy ever managed to be during his youth. At Oden's peak, he had become someone who could fight against and possibly even win a one-on-one fight against Kaido. It took Oden until the age of 39 to reach this level, while Luffy was able to achieve something similar at age 19, demonstrating that Luffy's growth in his teenage years was far beyond that which Oden had experienced. Following from Oden, we have technically the youngest character on this entire list, and it's Jewelry Bonnie. During the Egghead Island arc, it was revealed that Bonnie is only 12 years old, meaning that at the age of 10 she managed to be considered one of the most promising rising pirates in the world as a part of the worst generation, and she had amassed a bounty of 140 million berries. She was only 9 years old when she had managed to defeat Alpha, a CP8 agent. She had done so with a single punch by using her devil fruit to transform into what she imagined to be the warrior of liberation Nika. The abilities that Bonnie has displayed so far in the series are levels beyond anything that Luffy has shown to be capable of at the same age, with her attack against Alpha in particular being extremely similar to Luffy's Gear 3rd punches, something that he was only capable of doing at the age of 17. While Bonnie has yet to be shown to be capable of using Haki, her physical abilities on their own are extremely formidable, with her speed, durability and strength already a level above the average New World pirate despite her very young age. How her strength will advance, especially given the intricacies of a devil fruit power, is something that I am very excited to see, but at the moment at least she is still years ahead of where Luffy was at her age, and she is only showing signs of getting stronger. I was debating over how to class Kozuki Momonosuke for the purposes of this video, given that he is mentally at the age of 8 years old, but physically and chronologically 28 years old. I'd love to know your thoughts on how you think that Momo should be classified in this ranking. I'll be treating him as somebody who is only 8 years old. As you expect, he is significantly stronger than Luffy was at his age, simply by merit of him being a fully grown adult, and a physically strong one at that, with being the son of Kozuki Oden. He is far superior to an average 8-year-old Luffy, and when you add his devil fruit on top of this, it widens the gap between Momo and Luffy even further. How Momo's strength will advance in the coming years is an interesting discussion, and one that I may make a separate video on in the future. As you would imagine, Momo is near enough in his physical prime, although characters in the One Piece world do also seem to peak at later ages, given that most of the world's powerhouses are in their 40s and 50s at a minimum. Whether if Momo's strength will improve leaps and bounds as he ages mentally is yet to be seen, so I think that it's difficult to definitively say that Momo has more potential than Luffy. I'm going to be treating the next two characters as one entry, and these are of course Luffy's brothers, the late Podcasty Ace and Sabo. The pair were both 3 years older than Luffy, which can go some distance towards explaining why Luffy never managed to beat either of them in a fight during their childhood. Even when he and Ace eventually met up in Alabasta, Luffy openly acknowledged to his crew that he has never managed to defeat Ace even after having his devil fruit powers. While present day Luffy likely surpasses both of his brothers even despite the age difference, it is a different story if you go back in time just a few years. At the age of 17, both Ace and Sabo were considerably stronger than Luffy, with the pair both competent at using Haki. Ace was even capable of defeating Jinbei in battle, an opponent that would likely have given Luffy trouble back when he had first entered the New World following the time skip. It is only after the advancements that Luffy gets with Haki in the Wano arc, as well as the awakening of his devil fruit, which leads to Luffy surpassing both Ace and Sabo. Now, the least remembered character within this video, but still somebody who has insane potential, is D-Linger from Doflamingo's crew. D-Linger had been a member of the Donkyo Pirates since his infancy, meaning that despite being only 16 years old, he had spent more time as a pirate than the vast majority of the worst generation. Thanks to his heritage as a human-fisherman hybrid, D-Linger was blessed with immense physical abilities, allowing him to easily overcome and outclass some of the strongest New World fighters, including most of those who arrived at Dressrosa intending to claim the Mero Mero no Mi. While he only held a bounty of 15 million berries, this was mainly credited to him being a member of a warlord's crew, which therefore meant that his bounty was frozen at the level that it was when the crew had officially become part of the world government. Since the Donkyo pirates had been part of the warlords for approximately 10 years, this means that D-Linger had his bounty at the age of 6, showing just how strong he was despite his young age. By the time that he was 16, he was easily able to defeat the likes of Bellamy, who at the time had a bounty of 195 million berries. Given the speed and strength that he had displayed during the Dressrosa arc, D-Linger would almost certainly have been too strong of an opponent for Luffy to beat pre-timeskip. Of course, as soon as Luffy developed his Gear 4th abilities, he would likely have leapt far past D-Linger, even given the fact that D-Linger has impressive power for a hybrid being. Whether D-Linger would have developed more in the future is hard to say, as the bulk of his strength has come from his genetics. We have seen non-human creatures reach extreme heights within One Piece, with some of the most powerful non-humans being able to withstand the world government, and you have examples like Kaido, who has stood as one of the emperors of the sea for decades. Despite this, the strongest characters that we have seen so far as fishmen would be Jinbei and Fisher Tiger. While being incredibly strong, they weren't really comparable to some of the strongest individuals in the series. Now moving on, for a character who rather unfortunately never got the chance to live up to their potential, we have the former rival of our very own Straw Hat, Roronoa Zoro. This is none other than Shimotsuki Kuina. At the age of 11, Kuina was one of the strongest swordsmen in Shimotsuki village, possibly surpassed only by her father. Even Zoro, who despite being a year younger than her, was easily capable of defeating most adults, he was never able to get the better of her. Over the long history of trying to face off against her, Zoro had lost against Kuina a total of 2001 times. This level of disparity in strength is impressive, especially since we know just how far Zoro has come since then, and it's very likely that Zoro at the moment stands as the second greatest swordsman in the world. While part of Zoro's interactions with Kuina had centered around Kuina's despair that Zoro would soon surpass her simply by virtue of being a man, and therefore he was destined to become far stronger than her, there is no guarantee that this definitely would have been the case. Haki is the great equalizer within One Piece, and mastery over Haki can easily bridge the gap between male and female, because if you're quantifying power with just strength and muscle mass, then the giants would reign supreme within the world, but we know that this isn't the case. This is especially the case when it comes to swordsmen, with the fact that Dracule Mihawk is one of the strongest pirates in the world, despite him being rather average in terms of physical strength. But with Mihawk's mastery over his swordsmanship as well as his haki, it's made him more than capable of slicing apart entire icebergs at Marineford, and even becoming regarded as a Yonko following his removal from the ranks of Warlord. If Kuina had managed to live to the present day, it is possible that Zoro would have found himself standing as number 3 on the swordsman ranking list instead of number 2. Next, I want to cover 4 characters who will fall under one category, as we are talking about the Vinsmoke siblings Ichiji, Niji, Yonji, and Reiju. Thanks to the genetic modifications from their father, Vinsmoke Judge, these siblings all possess physical abilities that are superior to the average human. From birth, they all possess a tough exoskeleton, which had raised their endurance and resistance to damage to utterly inhumane levels, while their superhuman strength is amplified by Judge's training. This had meant that they were even stronger than super soldiers despite still being children. Now, while the Vinsmoke siblings had a massive head start at their young age, there does seem to be somewhat of a plateau in their strength during their adulthood, as they were taken by surprise and outmatched by Big Mom's children during the Whole Cake Island arc. Their strength as children, while vastly outstripping the likes of Luffy, seems to have been quickly leveled out as they had aged, with them now being considered strong fighters, but nothing unlike what can be seen in most of the Yonko and their crews. Now, the last entry on this list is a character who I feel has the most potential out of everybody on this list. This is a character who I genuinely believe will one day stand face to face with the likes of Gear 5th Luffy and be able to fight against him evenly. I am of course talking about none other than Kobe. I've always considered Kobe to be somewhat of a mirror to Luffy. Kobe is what Luffy would have been if he had joined the Marines. A character with incredible drive, determination and stubbornness, which allows him to stand up to admirals and force his way into becoming someone that makes the world stand up and take notice of them. Despite being only 1 year younger than Luffy, Kobe has already shown a level of power that would likely only be matched by Luffy in his Gear 4th forms. His final attack at Hachinozu was enough to even shock the members of SHIELD, and it had demonstrated the amount of development that he has had as one of Garp's most latest students. While Kobe has always lagged slightly behind Luffy, the fact that he has been consistently working hard to remain at a similar level to Luffy despite his rapid advancements throughout the series, it has allowed Kobe to rise to become one of the strongest characters around. With the fate of Garp unknown and how Kobe will react to his teacher's capture, this may well be the final push that Kobe needs for him to transform into one of the true powerhouses of One Piece, who may well in the end be able to rival Luffy himself. We've reached the point of the video now where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. Let me know which characters you think have more potential than Luffy, or at least any characters who you think would have been stronger than Luffy at the same age. Given the incredible size of the cast of characters in One Piece, it's possible that there are some that I have missed, because I've not included non-canon characters from the anime or the movies. Some of them may well have more potential than Luffy. If you've enjoyed this video, then definitely continue the discussion in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more amazing One Piece content just like this. Lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next One Piece video.
If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.